Every single egg you've ever cracked into a pan came from a hen. But hens don't hatch alone. For every female chick born, there's a male sibling hatching in the exact same incubator, at the exact same moment. So here's the question nobody asks while they're making breakfast. Where do all the brother chickens go? They're not in the grocery store. They're not on any menu you've ever seen. Billions of them are born every single year. And somehow, an entire half of a species has almost completely vanished from public view. So what actually happens to them? And why did an industry decide that one sex of a chicken was worth everything, while the other was worth almost nothing? Let's start with the biology, because it explains more than you'd think. A male chicken cannot lay an egg. That part's obvious. What's less obvious is what that single fact does to an entire industry once you scale it up to billions of birds. A hatchery isn't guessing at chromosomes for fun. It's running a business that only wants one output: hens that will lay eggs for the next year and a half. Every male chick that hatches alongside them isn't a mistake. He's an unavoidable side effect of biology. And to a commercial hatchery, he's a cost with no return attached. Here's where it gets stranger, though, because you'd assume the obvious fix is simple. Just raise the males for meat instead. Problem solved, right? Except it isn't. And the reason comes down to something most people have never heard of. Modern chickens aren't one animal anymore. They're two. Somewhere in the last 100 years, humans split the chicken in half. Not literally, but genetically. One lineage was bred, generation after generation, purely to lay as many eggs as biologically possible. The other lineage was bred purely to pack on meat as fast as possible, some reaching slaughter weight in under 2 months. These are, functionally, two different machines wearing the same feathers. And that means a male chick born from an egg-laying bloodline isn't a small broiler. He's the wrong tool entirely. Slow-growing, lean, expensive to feed, built for a job his body was never engineered to do. So the hatchery is left holding an animal that can't lay eggs and isn't efficient enough to sell as meat. And for decades, the industry's answer to that was about as blunt as answers get. Male chicks were culled within hours of hatching, not raised, not repurposed, removed from the system before they ever cost the farm another cent. It's one of the least discussed practices in modern agriculture, not because it's rare, but because almost nobody outside the industry ever sees it happen. Now, before you assume this is just cruelty for cruelty's sake, it's worth asking why this only became a problem in the last century. Because for most of human history, it wasn't one. Go back further, and the rooster wasn't garbage. He was practically royalty. Ancient farmyards kept roosters deliberately. They guarded the flock. They announced the sunrise. In parts of Southeast Asia, where chickens were first domesticated, roosters were bred for fighting and prized for courage long before anyone cared how many eggs a hen produced. Some cultures treated the rooster as a symbol of status, aggression, even divinity. Nobody was asking what to do with the useless males because males weren't useless. They were the point. So what actually changed? The answer isn't the chicken, it's the scale. When farms kept a few dozen birds, a handful of roosters made sense, one guarding a flock of hens, occasional others destined for the stew pot when they got older and tougher. Small systems can absorb inefficiency, but once egg production turned into an industry producing hundreds of millions of chicks a year, that same tolerance for waste became catastrophically expensive, multiplied at scale. Feeding one unnecessary rooster for 6 months is a rounding error. Feeding 50 million of them isn't. The math that used to work on a farm simply breaks the moment you're running a factory. And this is the part that should genuinely surprise you. It isn't that male chicken meat is bad. Roosters have been eaten by humans for thousands of years, and older birds still show up in slow-cooked stews, broths, and braises across dozens of cultures today precisely because their tougher, more active muscle holds up to long cooking. There is nothing biologically wrong with this meat. The problem was never on the plate. It was in the spreadsheet. Because a commercial meat operation doesn't want a rooster that takes twice as long to grow and yields half the breast meat of a specialized broiler. It wants the broiler, every single time. So the egg breed male gets squeezed out from both directions at once, too slow for the meat industry, biologically incapable of joining the egg industry. and ends up belonging to neither system that built the modern chicken. Which raises an uncomfortable point. This isn't really a story about chickens choosing their fate. It's a story about humans engineering an animal so precisely for one function that anything outside that function became disposable. We didn't domesticate the chicken so much as we split it into specialists, and specialists, by definition, have no use for what they weren't built to do. So what's actually being done about it now? Scientists have spent years developing something called in ovo sexing, technology designed to determine an embryo's sex while it's still inside the shell, days before it would ever hatch. If the egg is male, it's removed from the incubation line entirely. If it's female, she continues developing into exactly what the system needs. Several countries have already started requiring this technology in commercial hatcheries, essentially trying to engineer the male chick problem out of existence before it ever becomes a chick at all. It's a strange kind of solution, using precision biology to erase a problem that precision biology created in the first place. And that's really the core of this whole story. We didn't end up here because chickens are simple animals. We ended up here because we made them complicated on purpose. A wild jungle fowl that once did a bit of everything, laid some eggs, grew some meat, defended its flock, got pulled apart into specialized versions of itself until the pieces that didn't fit a spreadsheet got left behind entirely. The male chicken isn't missing because nature made him useless. He's missing because an industry decided, animal by animal, egg by egg, exactly what value was allowed to look like. And for one half of every hatch, the answer that industry landed on was not enough. So the next time you crack an egg into a pan, it's worth remembering there was a brother hatched right alongside it. Same shell, same incubator, same species. The only difference between them was a chromosome and an economic system built entirely around what that chromosome was worth.